Alright guys, let's go back again today. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. More roster news in the CDL last night as Surge officially make a change, at least according to the Bush. They reckon that Capsidal is on his way from the Bush back into the Pro League. The key question becomes, should Cap have bid his time a little bit longer and waited out? Other teams, Boston, maybe even FaZe, could be looking for SMGs in the very near future, but Capsidal has, we think, taken the Surge offer, although that team somewhat denies it after some interesting developments on the timeline, including what was happening with that OpTic announcement video with Shotzzy they put out last night. Very much into your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you are new as always. We're just going to start here, right? Because this is the key talking point of yesterday, really. OpTic had prepared the biggest news in OpTic history, is what they called it, before they put the video live. Look, I don't think anyone was actually expecting Shotzzy to, like, retire or something. I thought there were a couple of possibilities for this. I didn't predict it to be exactly what they came out with in the end. You know, optic.link/news. It's all rather funny in hindsight, right, given the content they eventually came out with. But I thought there were a couple of options. Option one, I thought, okay, it's going to be some sort of sponsor thing. Option two is, maybe Shotzzy was going to get some sort of ownership percentage. I don't know. With him dressed up in the suit, I thought it might be some sort of announcement that, okay, Shotzi's now, I don't imagine they would go into details on percentages, but maybe a co-owner of OpTic or something like that. I don't know how likely that was, but I thought it was plausible given the circumstances. I definitely didn't think Shotzzy was going to be retiring. That wouldn't have made any sense for him to, like, announce that, oh, I'm going to call it a day at the end of the season. Certainly not now. Didn't really make much sense. Regardless, they put together a fun bit of content, right? It was just controversial because people were expecting something else. Now, of course, for OpTic fans, this is a positive, right? Shotzzy hasn't retired. Like, there was some fear about that. So, OpTic fans obviously have to come away from it thinking, okay, yeah, maybe we got, like, let's say, hoodwinked or bamboozled to a degree in terms of the expectations were. And the show was fun, right? I mean, look, to me, the star of the show was obviously Mercules, right, with his little weather report here. It was funny watching this live. I actually wasn't listening to the audio because we were, like, watching it live on the Dope Check pre-show that we did before things went live, because we thought, okay, maybe something's going to happen here. But all the chat was, like, spamming L. Not all the chat, but let's say there was some disagreement in the live chat for this live stream as to whether, like, what was going on here, right, what was going to happen. Of course, it was clear from minute one that Shotzzy was not going to be retiring, right? This is a very different type of content. And look, of course, Shotzi's also got championships to win, right? So right now, in the midst of these major two qualifiers, okay, have a content day, it's fine, but I don't know if we're going to be seeing too many episodes of these, let's say, as the World Championship is just around the corner. But look, still, I think it was a fun bit of content. It was just subverted expectations to a large extent. But all of the L's in the chat quickly turned to W's for Perk 30 when he dropped this line, which was pretty fire. So that's on the thumbnail, of course. But it was interesting, right? Like, the way that they did the launch, we saw Zinni with a few responses to it, because Zinni says, why? We hyped up something fun. If it was what everyone was assuming, they'd be mad. Which, like, obviously, yeah, if people assumed that he was going to retire, but, like, come on, I think we knew he wasn't going to retire realistically. Although some people were understandably somewhat concerned about it. It's a light-hearted video. Some people are still angry about it and all this, and then he kind of doubles down with the same take right here. So I do get it from Zinni's perspective, but also, well, as is pointed out in replies, because Zinni was like, well, you know, it was only a photo of Shotzzy in a suit. But let's not forget, Shotzzy did do this, right? So Shotzzy quote tweeted it with the broken heart emoji. So, like, there was this little media push, and, like, it was good marketing, of course, towards this new content series they're running, and, you know, they're going to do more episodes in the future, but none of them are going to get the marketing buzz that this one did, for sure. But yeah, Shotzzy obviously implied that something serious was happening, which I think is why some people walk away and they feel, okay, well, it was fun, but maybe we were expecting something slightly different. At the end of the day, it's not a negative from OpTic side. Shotzzy's still here. It's either your cup of tea as content or it's not. I just was quite confused watching it, because, like, the whole time I was expecting it to be like, okay, well, here's the sponsor that we're, you know what I mean? Like, introducing the partnership with. This show's brought to you by this company or whatever, right? Like, I thought, okay, if it's not Shotzzy retiring or it's not some big announcement, then at least from like Shotzzy doing something in the organization or whatever, then I was expecting it to be some sort of partnership announcement or something with a brand, I don't know, and it just never happened, and the screen went blank, and that was it. And I was like, I just felt a little bit confused, to be honest. So anyway, that was my take, and true to your thoughts on all of this stuff in the comments, let's dive into what it means to the rosters elsewhere from OpTic, because we have a couple of tweets hitting the timeline yesterday. This was one of the big ones from the Bush. So, Bush confirm, welcome to the Bush, aBe. aBe, of course, is currently, at least according to Surge themselves, a player for the Vancouver Surge. But no longer. That is no longer the case, because they confirm that Capsidal is off the other way. Now, first of all, this is hilarious. I mean, it's got 1 million views, right? So you can see how much juice the Bush really have these days. But Cap straight to Surge, and I find it hilarious how they did this for Boston when Spark joined. They were like, yeah, Spark's going to Boston, and Boston hadn't confirmed it yet, obviously, but Bush don't care. Now, if I was an organization trying to work with these guys, I'm like, can we just hold off maybe just for a little bit? But also, look, once the deal is done, once they've decided what they're going to do, it's not like there's any crazy amount of money flying around. They're just going to announce it, right? They don't care, because also aBe is going to go to their team and they're going to start scrimming with aBe. So, you know, what are you meant to do, right? You're going to pretend that Capsidal isn't going to Surge when you've got aBe in your team now? Like, it's pretty obvious what's happening. So they just come out and confirm it. I think to some degree it serves the organizations right for being so slow with some of their announcements, right? Like, Bush put together this graphic. It's nothing crazy. It's not rocket science. They throw it out there. Surge, what are they going to do? They're going to spend 2-3 days to come up with this graphic, and then they're going to post the same thing out there and say, welcome, Cap. It's like, come on, right? Like, you might as well just Photoshop Cap in a Surge jersey and run with it and drop it at the same time as Bush. But whatever, they've not done that yet, so it's not yet official. But aBe is gone, and I think after a disastrous couple of days for Surge, something had to give on this team. If we look at their recent results, it is an absolute shambles. You know, they've been 3-0 now a couple of times in a row, including by Ravens, which was not pretty. They somehow beat Boston like they always do. They beat Ravens at Major 1, but apart from that, their Major 1 cycle, sometimes with Legends, was horrible. Then they brought in Tej. They got better, but not much better. And the Major 2 qualifiers have been pretty bad as well. Very bad in large part. Yeah, they've played some good teams in there, and they did beat Boston. But the way that they lost to Ravens and to OpTic was proof that something had to give. And they played Cloud9 in a couple of days, which obviously is a must-win for them. So they can't afford to lose it. And, well, they decided a change was necessary to get to that point. Now, look, aBe was on Toronto at the World Cup, and he had a good performance at the World Cup. Unfortunately, he was the Burger King in the League of Major 1. It wasn't Exceed. Of course, Exceed had a monster stage online. But online and on LAN, it was aBe who was the Burger King, and it wasn't pretty. But his Esports World Cup performance with Toronto, you guys may remember, was very solid, right? Played really well for Toronto. They came third that tournament. He stepped in, did a very solid job, looked like a competent player for sure, given it was his debut. And, you know, I think even the team said he was pretty nervous about it, and understandably, but he executed pretty well. Now, I think Toronto deserves some credit for that, maybe with the system they have. And we talked about that with Mercules, but it became clear post-Mercules that actually, no, Merc is just him wherever he goes. But I still think there's some truth to the idea that Toronto is an easier team environment to slot into than some others are. But equally, clearly aBe's got some potential in there. We saw it at the World Cup. This year on Surge, it's not been anywhere near the same type of player. There was even some talk when they needed a replacement for ReeaL as to whether they go and get aBe back. Could that have been an option? Possibly, but with the way that he was playing this season so far, becomes far less tenable, right, to make that type of decision. And his overall numbers have not got any better in Stage 2. He had some shocking performances the other week. I still think he's a player that actually has some potential. Like, we have seen it. It's just when you play for a worse team, you're going to look worse. But also, he has played individually awfully. So, like, I'm not saying he should be staying or anything like that. But I think he will earn another opportunity likely at some point. I don't think his stock is totally cooked and compromised. But nonetheless, he needs a better stint. And this is the problem, because Surge were not a good team, and this is where Capsidal is ending up. So I want to just share a quick clip here of Jersey Jerry and the boys on Bush talking about how this news got broken to them and where we go from here.
Tim texted me last night. He said, GG. He's a question mark. He's like, Cap gone, twin. I said, what do you mean he's gone? He said, I'm telling you, Cap gone. Twin, you got to talk to him. I said, what do you want me to say? And then like a half hour went by. He was like, nah, we all talked. Yeah, Cap definitely gone, though, but it's good for him.
He was like, wait, what? You got to say what he said word for word. He's like, I'm telling you, Jerry, he's gone.
Well, yeah, pretty much.
Jerry kept on throwing like question marks.
Yeah. I was like, what's going on? Like, gone where?
Jerry, he said, Jerry said, really, you think they're going to offer him? And then another text question mark. And he said, yeah, it's already over.
Yeah.
Jerry, they're going to offer him, bro. It's GG's.
Jerry goes, what you mean, bro? How do you know?
So Capsidal coming straight into the Vancouver Surge. That is how it currently appears. They've pretty much confirmed it from all sides, and Don certainly didn't deny it. Surge themselves say, I'm calling Cap on this, right? So obviously there's a play on words here, but still, Surge, as I say, as of recording, they've not confirmed anything, right? They quote, is this their announcement, right? They're just quote tweeting the graphic. Fair enough, whatever. These poverty orgs, man, never cease to amaze. The question that Don had is whether this was the right decision, and it looks like Don had a long chat with Capsidal. Don said on the show that he talked to Kenny about it and talked to his girl about it. Like, you know, they were trying to figure out, is this the most sensible move for Capsidal? Should he take the Surge offer? Obviously, Surge are going to want a player like Capsidal. He's been a quality player when he's been in the league before, at least in terms of pace and in terms of impact, right? Like, Capsidal, there's a reason why he's been in the league and been out of the league, for sure. He's not been able to maintain that consistency over time. He was on Boston for a good while. Had some mixed results there, but people know that Capsidal's very talented. He plays at some serious pace. He's the type of player that Surge need, arguably. But I think he's also the type of player that probably other teams could look at as well. I mean, we know that Boston have just picked up Spart, and he's averaging a 1.3. He's like the number one KD in the league over those two series. So I'm not saying he's going to maintain that, but Spart was very good in challenges, and from an SMG perspective, Cap was at times right there with him from an SMG perspective. Now, of course, Cap's still going to play with TJ. They were on the bush earlier this season together, and they're boys. So, you know, effectively TJ's made the call and be like, Cap, we need you. Can you come and save me, please? And they're going to try. Is it going to work? Probably not. And for Cap, the problem is that if it doesn't work, now, look, Boston, you might have argued, wasn't going to work well for Spart, but all of a sudden he's looking really good, and it's not impossible for individual players to turn teams around. Even with Kips coming to Toronto, you know, Kips, as we know, is a quality player, but the team has changed so much since his arrival, and it's not probably all about him. You know, they just needed something to change, and looked like ReeaL just was not integrating there at all and all this. But the point is, they made a change. They're now looking better. Kips' stock, as a result, is mega, even if from here things don't go so well. So even if Surge starts to be a bit more competitive, then Capsidal will get some credit. But given he's had a couple of opportunities before, it's not worked out in the long term. Now you're looking at the scenario and saying, is this his final chance, right? Is this Cap's final attempt in the Pro League? And as a result, given his stock was pretty reasonable in challenges, to say the very least, and with Bush getting players poached left, right, rhubarb, they were obviously building a big name in terms of getting some of these top guys back into the Pro League. But could he have waited, right? Because Boston, it is very plausible, are still going to need another SMG player. These are just the standings for Major 2. Nasty and Spart, I don't expect that duo to be going anywhere from the AR side, but Snoopy and Purge is still by no means out of the woods just yet. The other possibility, of course, could even have been FaZe, because as it stands, FaZe with a Lurqxx on the bench, look, would they do that first, FaZe, if they are going to make a change and Simp has had enough with the team? Then they paid 20 grand for a Lurqxx for his buyout from Omid, so it would be it would feel amiss for them not to try him in some regard and maybe change the roles around to make that work if 04 would be the man to make way. But if he's not, then could Cap still do the job? Don said that he spoke to RJ and he reached out to FaZe and said, look, Cap, if you want him, like, now you go and get him right now, otherwise he's probably going to go somewhere else. But the feeling is that FaZe were not interested. If they were interested, they would have had that conversation a little while ago, and therefore Cap still felt, given the circumstances, this is the best opportunity I'm going to go on the Surge. So, yeah, would you have taken the offer if you're Cap? Because his stock was in a good spot, but probably not in a good enough spot to get like a real top offer. And if FaZe aren't interested, then I don't really see a better opportunity, apart from maybe Boston. But the problem is that he's been to Boston before. He's been around the ringer with that organization, and it didn't really end so well. So I don't think they want to really return to that route. That's how we understand it. Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care, and I'll see you next time.